Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
Second hour of the program begins right now. Our buddy Danny Clinkscale, Danny Unleashed from DannyClinkscale.com. He joins us. He's brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Roofing costs, construction costs in general, going up. The pandemic hit the construction industry. Didn't really feel the effect until now. All of the materials got stopped, got shut down. There's about a year's worth of materials, I guess, basically in stock, and now they're running out of those. That means costs are climbing. So, as it's raining right now, if you're wondering when is it going to start dripping in your house because you know that roof is old, tired, worn out, needs work, don't hesitate. Call right now. Call Easton Roofing at 913-257-5426. See them online at eastonroofing.com. It is important to call now to get the best price of the season. Call 913-257-5426. New roof repairs, gutters, attic insulation, no payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. That is Easton Roofing, getting you back to life faster. It's Easton Roofing, online at eastonroofing.com. Danny, how are you, my friend?
Doing just fine, Soren, for a rainy day, which has resulted in no baseball this evening, and I think that's a shame. Royals are going great, and the steady, I got an email or a text, somebody texted me, tweeted at me or something, just love baseball every day. And, especially when your team's going good, you just love to have a game every day, and there's no game today, so that's kind of a shame.
Yeah, that's the beauty. Every sport has its own culture, and the culture of baseball is that it's day in, day out, which is one of the things that makes it maybe the worst sport when your team sucks.
Yeah, that's true. But if
maybe
you're
the best when it's good.
I guess the good part of baseball from that standpoint is if you're a real fan and you love your team and you love to watch them play, generally even the worst teams win 40% of their games, and that's not the case in other sports. So, but yes, winning a game when you're 15 games out of first place doesn't carry much cachet, but I guess it's better than when you're in other sports and a really bad team wins, like in hockey, because there's ties, they win like 2 games out of 10. In the NBA, they might win 3 games out of 10. So it's a little bit better anyway.
If the Royals were a stock, give you a chance to weigh in on this. If they're a stock, are you buying? And the price of the stock is linked directly to how many games over 500 they are. Are you buying this team right now?
Because
are you selling this team right now?
Because they're 3 games over 500, I guess the price would be up a little bit, so I would sell.
Yeah. So you still think this is a club that's in the 70-something wins?
Yeah, but I think the good news for the Royals is I think there's all that's happened in the first 11 games is positive from the standpoint of the fact that I think the Royals have somewhat, let's put it, there's 2 ways to put this. They've smoke and mirrored their way to 7-4, or can you decide in 11 games that it's just a team that knows how to win? I don't know if you can do that, but they're below the middle of the pack in both team batting and team pitching. But they've done it in phases, whereas people who are, you think, going to do something aren't doing anything, and then other people who you don't think are going to do something have done stuff so far to contribute to the winning. I think the Royals are a bit of a confusion, so I think that it really just depends on what your initial outlook was on the team, and I think my initial outlook was that they were a 75 to 78 win team, and I don't think I'm going to move off that yet. But every sport has its momentum. The only problem with baseball is that the length of the season tends to bring things back to where they're really supposed to be. But I think everybody should right now feel really good, because I don't think the Royals have played great. Do you think the Royals have played 7-4 baseball per se? 6-10 baseball. Do you think they've really played 6-10 percentage baseball?
No, but they are 6-10.
Yeah.
And sorry, I know Curtis, you went away in here. I apologize. They are playing That is where their record is 7-4. No, it's not your traditional 7-4, but it also kind of feels like we didn't want to believe, or we'd had it pounded out of us for so long. You know, I talked about it in the open today. Your term, greasy runs. Remember when we were talking about that in 14?
Oh, yeah.
They just keep getting all these greasy runs. And what I think it ended up being is they're greasy because they don't make mistakes, right? Other teams kick the ball around. They make them pay. They have a pitcher who can't find the strike zone. They'll take a walk. Then they leave one up. They'll hit it. They'll punish it. They give them a fourth out. They make it count. I think there's a little bit of, I wonder if 3 years of bad baseball, or 2 years and whatever last year was, a bad baseball, we forget a little bit of what a contender does. And even maybe say whatever last year was, 2 years of bad baseball and 2 years of mediocre baseball, we forget what it looks like, that sometimes it's just a matter of being clean in what you do, and that will get you there. So, no, to your point, I don't think it feels like a team, certainly a team that's going to play 7-4 out of every 11. No, but I do also look at it and get excited from the standpoint that I think everything's not clicking.
Right.
Yes. And from that standpoint, when Salvi isn't getting on base at the same clip that he is, hopefully Adalberto Mondesi's back and he's on one of his hot streaks, right? Like, you never have all 9 guys clicking, and if you do, then you're clearly a mirage.
Right. Well, for instance, at the beginning of the year, I think the first game or two, maybe he got some hits, but Perez wasn't hitting. As of 3 games ago, he was hitting 1-something. But
right.
During that same span of time, Nicky Lopez was hitting almost 400. Well, now Nicky Lopez is returning to being Nicky Lopez. He's 2 for his last 17. But that comes at the point in time where Sal Perez gets 8 hits in 3 games. So the way they've sequenced it has been perfect. The only real mainstays so far offensively have been Merrifield and Taylor, who have been consistently representative of what they do. And then Santana's probably not been as good as you want, but he always is going to get on base. He's popped an important home run. So Lair's been really bad, but is showing signs of life maybe. The one biggest concern offensively to me is Benintendi. His bat looks slow. I don't think he was ever considered a great power fastball hitter. Like, I think that was the weakness maybe in his toolbox, that if you really threw hard, you might be able to get him. And there's a whole spit pile of guys who throw really hard in baseball these days. And I don't know. He's getting a few singles every now and then, but
when there's it's a hitter who you say like the best thing he does is he can go the other way. I mean, that generally doesn't necessarily lead to great offense. I mean, George Brett could go the other way, but he could also turn on a fastball and hit it 400 feet in the upper deck.
Is Benintendi going to left field these days because he's just late?
Yeah, that's what I'm leaving.
I think so. But although I've thought at times he's looked better here of late, but maybe I need to go back and look. Is it because he's got a veteran that's doing it on guile, and when the power guys are in there, that's when he looks late and slow? I agree with you. I mean, early on, we were talking about, wasn't it me and you that were having the discussion about Giancarlo Stanton when he swung and missed it by a foot? And you're like, no,
it wasn't me and you, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
Okay, well, I was like, Benintendi isn't swinging and missing by a foot, but it isn't looking right. And you're right, he was late, and it's like he's overpowered. Is he not seeing the ball? Is he picking it up late? And, I think we all were kind of looking at ourselves with the deal, what they gave up for him, like, why is Boston doing this? Like, this makes me a little nervous, right? Because this doesn't seem like it's fair value for the Golden Spikes winner who was a top 5 pick and had 2 really impressive seasons. You're like, what do we not know here? Like, what does Boston know and why they're giving him up for this price? And I think you might be onto it.
Right, and although he was a representative ball player, maybe he's just been found out. Maybe people are just saying, we're not. Why should we bother with our breaking stuff against this guy? Let's just throw gas and see if he can do anything with it. And it's not as if he isn't. It's not as if he's going all, he's hurting in bad luck, and he's making contact, and he's Jake Cronenworth, who has swung and missed this year 3 times, by the way. I was listening to the Pirates broadcast the other day, and they noted that. They were celebrating because he swung and missed.
Yeah.
And it was the third time that he swung and missed this year. So that he's troubling. Soler kind of backed off last year. I've always thought Soler was a candidate for throwing a stinker season in there. So I'm hoping that's not it. But he's looked a little bit better of late as far as the swings he's been getting. So I'm hopeful there. But I guess if I had a real cautionary tale off 44 at-bats, it would be Benintendi.
Okay. I'll take that. You buying the pitching? The pitching that's been good? You buying, not that Junis is going to throw a .75 ERA out there, but are you buying that Junis is going to be, an anchor guy in that rotation, that Duffy is going to be an anchor guy in that rotation?
Duffy, no. No.
All right, then.
I've got a decade's worth of evidence that he's somebody who can throw a really good game several times a year. I can't imagine that here in his early 30s and a decade into his career, he's suddenly going to find the magic consistent season that we've all been looking for forever. But I would love to be proven wrong. Junis' track record and the fact that he has a new pitch that's been effective so far. Now, when we see him pitch again against teams, they haven't seen this pitch yet. And even though I'm sure they've heard about it or seen it from his first game on tape or whatever, they haven't seen it with their own eyes, and they remember the guy from before. So, but I would say I have more hope that he could make a real step forward from the guy who looked like just a borderline major leaguer the last year and a half or so. Duffy's just got too long a track record. We know he's got talent. He's had talent the whole time he's been with the Royals, and he can look great, and he has looked great. But then, am I going to be shocked if he goes out the next start and he can't get out of the second inning? No.
Any concerns about Singer, Minor?
Minor's, again, has got and he hasn't been horrendous so far.
Right. He's just had a bad inning each time, it seems
right. Like. And, he's only given up 8 hits in 10 innings, and he struck out some guys. Of course, everybody strikes out people these days because everybody strikes out these days, and they don't care. I remember at one point in spring training, all the teams had gotten to the point where they basically had played a player season's worth of at-bats. Like, they were all in the 500s. And, like, every team had struck out more than 150 times.
Well, Jeff Passan said yesterday, going into the games yesterday, the league batting average, he had me guess it, or baseball's collective batting average, he had me guess it. And I had looked at, where the Royals were in team batting average, and they were like middle of the pack at like a 245, I was thinking. And so I was like, 245. I thought that's, he goes, yeah, you're 10 points high. 235 is the league's batting average, is baseball's batting average. 235.
And, people are arguing about whether it's a good idea to move the mound back a foot like they're going to do in the Sally League. I think a better idea would be to do what they have done before and change lower the mound, because then you're not screwing with the historical dimensions of the game, and you really accomplish the same thing. But we might. It's not like the adjustments haven't been made before. The game really has come down to walking and hitting home runs, and people strike out a lot. And when somebody doesn't, it's big news. And so pitchers' strikeout numbers are really difficult to judge. You'll say, oh, so-and-so, his strikeout numbers are up. Well, no kidding.
Well, their Ks per 9. They're per inning strikeout numbers, but nobody pitches enough to get,
nobody's going to strike out.
Nolan Ryan's record is safe.
Yes.
370.
Well, it's another reason.
Right?
It is another reason why
yeah.
people strike out.
383.
It is another reason why people strike out more, because there's more fresh pitchers out there.
You hear the stat.
And even if they stink, they strike people out.
The last team to go an entire game without a strikeout was the Royals in 2017. There have been 12,000 team games since the last time. And
I think
now,
that
30 years ago it happened 28 times.
I think
it hasn't
now,
happened in 3 years.
I think now, as a team, when you don't strike out 10 times in a game, it's a good day at the office.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, the Royals are in the middle of the pack in baseball, and they've struck out more than one per inning. Both their pitchers and their hitters.
Yeah. No, I'm not arguing. I don't like tinkering. I think it's a little early to can we you go 150 years and you don't mess with anything, and now you're going to change everything all in 2 years. Like the one thing I hate, and at least I haven't heard any of this. Well, we're going to outlaw the shift. Well, we're going to put a line out there, and you can't move your shortstop past this line. And
yeah, that's garbage.
That's all crap. I don't even know how you could legislate that, right? So I have no interest in that. I think that'll take care of itself with hitters that go, I can bunt for a base hit if they're going to shift around on me. And
right. And
learn how to bunt.
And the thing is, why don't people do it more? I mean, come on.
If Mike Moustakas could lay down a bunt, they would play him straight up, and then he would hit better.
Right. And what they're thinking is well, I'm just going to get a single. Yeah, well, you're not going to make an out, and you make a lot of them. Okay? I mean, just look out there. They're all where you hit the ball. And unless you hit it over the fence, which even in a good year you do it, 35 times, one side of 20 at-bats, if you're having a real bang-up season, put your pride in your pocket and lay down a bunt. It doesn't even have to be a good bunt. That's the point.
Yeah.
It can be a really crappy bunt. All you have to do is just make sure you get it far enough away from the catcher.
There's one guy on that side of the field.
Right.
And he ain't close to you.
Mike Matheny. I want to close on this. We now get a chance to evaluate him as a manager because they're playing meaningful games, right? They were pretty much out of it right away. Right. Do you like what you see so far?
I would say that from a man management, which is a soccer term, and how he handles himself with the media and everything else, I'll give him really good marks. And I think he has embraced the new baseball and analytics and things like that. But I think maybe he's doing it a little bit to a fault. I thought that last night when Scott Barlow was asked about the fact that, the Royals now have, I think it's 6, maybe it's 5 pitchers who have saves. But
5 saves with 5 pitchers.
Right, every one of them has 1. And when Barlow was asked about, the fact, hey, it seems like anybody can go into any role, and it almost looked like he sort of half grimaced before he said, yeah, we're all ready when the phone rings and you get excited. And I think fans are going to have a little bit of a jolt here because many of these fans were weaned on absolute structure in the bullpen, which was fabulous. And I'm not sure if this, well, today, here's the most important inning of the game and blah, blah, blah. The 9th inning's still the 9th inning, okay? Now,
their bullpen is now HHDBZ.
Yeah, and sometimes a person's going to pitch in the 6th. Like Kyle Zimmer.
Or their saves are, at least.
They start off, Jesse Hahn was pitching in the highest leverage situations, as many times happens in baseball. He was ineffective, and what's the next thing that happens? He goes on the injured list. So then Zimmer has a really nice, clean save after pitching effectively so far until the last couple outings. And I said, okay, they're going to give him a go at closer. And they didn't. And I think he's overdoing it a little bit. I think he's overdoing the mix and match.
Well, so tell me then, give me your 7, 8, 9. And what should it be that he's missing? Because I'll disagree. I don't think the bullpen has – I'll defend him from this standpoint. I don't see I think
you don't see a closer, is what you're saying.
Yes,
and
I know people are going to be like, Stamont, he's a guy.
Yeah, but he's never closed in his career.
He's never closed, and it's pretty straight. Okay, I think when you get into the ninth and you see 2, 3, 4, and then the guy who is their normal 3-hitter who had the night off who comes in and pinch hits, and I think it's going to look a little different. All right, I think they've done a good job of building him up, and I think he's ready for a tryout. Like, let's go, let's give it a go. I have no problem with trying it, but the idea that you plug him in there and you have Eric Gagne, who didn't blow a save for 3 years or whatever it was. Like, I'm not ready for that. I think they want the veteran Holland to take it and run with it so that the other guys can just get going, get on a roll in a less pressure role, and then they'll move him in later. But Holland's not taking it and running. I know he struck out Trout and he got out of it, but well, he would do that in the past. No, he wouldn't. I mean, he could do it. Yes, it happened from time to time. There were also nights where it was, oh, my God, no one's touching him, right? Yes, he could get a save on a night that he didn't have his best stuff, but when he had his best stuff, it was electric, and that best stuff isn't there anymore. It's junk after junk after junk. And I love Greg Holland,
right.
And I love that he's still in the game and still pitching meaningful innings without the firepower that he used to bring to the mound. But it's not him, and so I'll defend. I hear what you're saying, and I would just say I'm not ready to declare anything. I'm watching it to see where he goes, but I don't see anyone who's grabbed the role that you're like, okay, here's 7, here's 8, here's 9.
I'd give Barlow a good go.
I like Barlow a lot,
and he seems to have the mentality for it. But
I think he's the best candidate to be the 9th inning guy.
But for whatever reason, they know these guys better than we do, okay?
Yes.
And apparently that organizationally must be part of the reason why Josh Stamont has never closed games, because he's the one who's got the stuff, and as you mentioned, it is straight, but if you can throw 101, there's a lot of guys who just can't deal with that.
Right. Yeah, Benintendi, you pointed out.
Right. But Greg Holland's got his whip's almost 3, and he struck out less than a batter per inning. And as I pointed out before, if you're doing that, that's pus throwing these days.
I remember Kevin Apier when the Royals signed him at the end.
Oh,
and he had a good game. He had one game. It was in that 03 magical season, and they picked him up after he was released, and he threw a couple of good games. But he had one game, and I think it was against the Yankees even. And I was standing outside of the clubhouse, and he was coming out. I'd talked to him before. I was talking to him as he was leaving. We were walking out, and we walked out and got into the elevator, and one of the Yankees got in there with them, and they're like, "Hey, nice game tonight, Ape." And he's like, "Smoke and mirrors, man. Smoke and mirrors." Like, he knew. Like, it wasn't there anymore. Like,
although
he was doing it on guile. I respected the hell out of the fact that he's like, yeah, that's nice of you to say, but I know what I'm throwing out there. Like, I got a little crafty tonight and got away with some stuff, and I think that's what Greg Holland's doing.
Although Apier was hard on himself when he could really bring it.
Oh God!
I mean, he wanted every batter to swing and miss every time, and when he wasn't, it was like, damn, I'm not throwing anything here.
By the way, good memory. August 13th, 2003, 11-0 over the Yankees at the K. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 2 Ks.
1 walk, 2 Ks.
2 Ks.
Right, nice.
1 walk, 2 Ks. I remember interviewing Apier when he was really good, and him going, that sounds dumb. Can we do that again? Like, it doesn't. You're a major leaguer. Nobody, like, it doesn't sound dumb. Whatever you say is a fact. Like, you're the guy. And I'm like, okay. And we get going. He's like, I don't like that one either. Can we do that again? We're not shooting a commercial,
right? We're getting your real life thoughts.
You can't be wrong. It's
if
your opinion.
If it was Zach Greinke, it'd be like take 34. Except he wouldn't care. But you might.
He wouldn't ask to do it again.
But you might say,
I don't care about that.
I'm not doing it.
You might say, what was that? Can we do that again?
You just said you played for Cleveland. No, okay.
Kevin Apier would sit there and wring his hands. I'd sit him down for a long-form interview at spring training, and he would wring his hands. He was nervous. Talking to this fatty with a mic.
I know it's very.
He was uncomfortable.
It's very funny. I mean, that's not that unusual. These are major league professional athletes, and we're just schmoes holding a mic. I've seen captains of industry walk into this studio and have sweat beads running down their forehead just to do an interview to talk about what they know. So tell us about your new product. Hand shaking, Go to break. Was that okay? Was that okay? You'll be fine. You were fine. Just go into the Mercedes S Series or whatever the hell you have sitting outside, and you'll be fine, buddy. Well, I'll go just pick up my half a paycheck after I just melted you.
Oh, yeah. Good times. Good times.
Exactly.
We can laugh about it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Danny's with us. Danny Unleashed, brought to you by Easton Roofing. We'll take a break. I want to get into the fact that USC got a slap on the wrist. I had someone today, actually my buddy Jake over at Robert Brogdon, said to me, so KU's not going to get anything, right? We'll see if Danny agrees with that. He's brought to you by Easton Roofing. No payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. Call Easton Roofing today, 913-257-5426.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, there's all kinds of roofing companies in Kansas City. People see their trucks, they see their ads, they see their commercials on TV. What separates you out from the pack?
Danny, there's a lot of roofers in Kansas City that are good roofers that can put a good roof on, but we like to pride ourselves on giving you a good customer service experience. From the first time you call, you're going to get a friendly voice on the phone. We're going to let you know what's happening and when it's happening. And, the other piece is some companies are small enough to do small jobs. Some companies are big enough to do big jobs. We're right there in the middle. We can handle the little stuff. We can handle your repairs all the way up to your big commercial roofs.
So what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you at Easton Roofing?
You can find us at eastonroofing.com, or you can always call us at 913-257-5426. That's 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
All right, the good sense. End of the hour answer. What is the only NFL team to have 4 number 1 overall picks play in the same season?
Repeat that.
Only NFL team.
Only NFL
4
team.
number 1 overall picks. Same season.
Same season.
Raiders.
Nope. They had 3. They were the first to have 3.
Plunkett, Bo.
Actually, it ended up being it was in 1997, and it was Russell, Maryland, Jeff George, and Andre Bruce of all people. That was the first one to have 3.
Wow.
I actually sat while watching the Royals game last night and put together a spreadsheet. The number 1 overall pick down the left side. Yes. Amazing. The number 1 overall picks down the left side.
Was your harem just watching you put it together?
Yes, they were. They were fanning me and feeding me grapes. The years across the top, and I filled in with what team every number 1 overall pick played every year, and then looked at columns to find out what teams were repeated. I wanted to find the first.
Up. You did what?
That doesn't actually, by Curtis's standard, that doesn't sound as hard as some of the other things he's done.
Yes, I just listed them.
There's not that many.
Burrow, Murray, Mayfield, Gary Goff. Then the years across the top, and one for each person.
You usually do everything back to the common draft.
Back to 67, back to Bubba Smith.
Okay.
To find out, I wanted to find out who the first team was, because the Browns are going to have 3 this year. If a team had 4.
So I just want to be clear, because Danny's like, not that impressed.
By the way, I tweeted a couple screenshots.
I'm impressed. I'm just saying he's done stuff that's more complex than this.
But 54 years, or 55, 54, I guess, players.
Right.
Yep.
And then you boxed in every year of their career and then saw how many times it overlapped?
Yeah, just went down each column and saw, wow, are there 2 Buffaloes? Are there 2? For instance, the first team to have 2, the 72 Bills with O.J. Simpson and Walt Patulski. The first team to have 3 was the Raiders in 97.
Soren, I think you and I are the only 2 who are grasping how absolutely absurd it is that someone spent time on this.
I'm processing
I don't need
it.
anyone's approval.
I'm processing this fairly easily.
We all
love
get
it.
what it is, Danny.
There's only 54 players. It's not that
Took
many.
me about 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I will tell you that children sucked my ability to do the same stupid thing away from me, and I'm not upset because I can remember my wife going before we had kids, in the 5 minutes before we had kids, when we were married, and then, that was a fun one. We were going to wait a little while for kids, right until I got on the plane to go to the honeymoon. She goes, there's really no reason to wait. I'm like, oh, wow, this didn't take long for that curveball to come around. Anyway, sidebar. I have no regrets, though, but I have two great kids. But I remember one night I was working on left tackles in the Super Bowl or something like that, like when they were drafted, and I was building a spreadsheet on when all the starting left tackles in the Super Bowl were drafted. And, oh, my God, you just sent it to me. Oh, that is just awful. Oh, you insane poor thing. That just popped up on the screen. And my wife was like, it's like 12:30 or 12:45, right? And she's finally going to bed. Normally she'd have been in bed long before that, but she was up late. She's like, "Are you going to bed?" I'm like, "No, I'm working on this left tackle thing." She's like, "What?" I'm trying to figure out when they draft all the left tackles in the Super Bowl, and I've started it and I can't stop. I got to get it finished. And like now I have kids and I stop or I don't even get started. So I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you're on that wall.
Yeah.
Thank you, Curtis.
You want
I will
me
just
on
say
that wall.
thank you and go
need
on
me.
about my way.
Otherwise, I suggest you open up an Excel spreadsheet and stand opposed.
Maybe we should
Open up an Excel spreadsheet and break something
here's
down.
the-
Otherwise, I don't give a damn
what
you think you're entitled to.
The answer is kind of fun. It actually is the same franchise.
Wait, let me think.
They did it in back-to-back years with a slightly different quartet of players.
Oh, really? So they changed out the same franchise?
One guy fell off, another guy jumped on.
Okay, 4 1-1s.
Yep.
So I'm thinking there's like a Vinny or a Jeff George. There's some.
Jeff George was on both teams.
Okay, Jeff. All right. Now we're getting somewhere.
So it'll be the Colts. wouldn't it?
Colts,
Nope.
Falcons,
Nope.
Vikings,
Nope.
football team.
Yes.
Okay, so
Crushed it.
Washington.
Washington
I didn't
football
nail
team.
it. Thank you. I at least know
2000.
where all Jeff George played since, only Jason Whitlock was more enamored with Jeff George than me and his 40-70 record.
Washington FT, as I'm come to calling them, to make them sound like a soccer
WFT.
team. Washington FT. 2000
There's
and
talk that
2001.
they're going to go with that as
Right.
their name. Did
Yes.
you know that?
Yeah, I've heard that. Sort
Let's
of a
see.
soccer thing.
Yeah.
Jeff George, Bruce Smith at the tail end of his career, and I am not cheating.
This sounds
I've
so.
got
This sounds so football team after they were good.
I know. Jeff George. Marty might even have been the coach for one of
He
these.
was for one of them. He was for the
Football,
2000
let's see.
team.
Bruce Smith, Jeff George, Dion.
Nope.
No, he was 5. Hang on. I want to get this. Was there an offensive lineman? Probably not.
Nope.
You guys just sat here and mocked Curtis for
defensive
making a
guy.
spreadsheet.
He wants to figure it out.
And now he's just desperate to figure the answer
Well,
out.
I mocked him, and am doing no such thing, Danny. Don't put me in with these other rubes.
I could lean forward and double click on my iPad the photo that's in front of me and cheat, but I'm not going to do it because I really want to prove that I can do it. Just like I had to get that left tackle spreadsheet done, 16 years ago.
I'm letting you do all the grinding. I've kicked back on this one.
Okay, Bruce Smith, Jeff George. Is there a running back? No.
There's an offensive player and a defensive player on the other two players.
Was Andre Bruce or some turd like that? Were they any good?
One guy was not living up to the bill of number one, but had a longer career than I remembered he had.
Was that the offensive or
A
defensive?
defensive guy. Offensive guy played for quite a while.
Oh, I'm going to hate myself. I hate myself. Is it a tackle?
Nope.
Wave the white
White
flag.
out.
Irving Fryer. Yeah, he had a cup of coffee there at the end. Okay. All right, now I'm down to the defensive. I'm down to one, Danny.
One guy.
It's your show.
And Fryer was
buddy.
the guy that dropped off the following year.
Fryer was?
Yeah, he was the guy that wasn't on the 0-1 team, replaced by an offensive player who was a major bust.
God. I don't know. I'm not going to get it. I don't know. I have no idea.
Dan
literally.
Big Daddy Wilkinson.
Oh, Dan Wilkinson.
Fryer, Smith, George, and Wilkinson in 2000. Fryer retired, but they signed Kajana Carter in the offseason, and he joined Smith, George, and Wilkinson. It will not surprise you. Both teams went 8-8.
Yeah, it doesn't shock me.
Well, I just Googled Jeff George, and I was looking for an image, and I can't find one with him in a Redskins uniform right off the bat. That's how
he was 1 year.
No, I know he was. I know he was
there.
with them, but finding a picture of it, I just had to add Redskins to get him in the picture.
I think it was just 1 year.
2.
Two? Okay.
But he was in the trio in Oakland. He was also in a duo in Indy with Steve Ettman. So he usually had one other guy around him.
Well, he never.
And they were never good.
While he never sniffed a championship in real football, he was part of 2 championships in fantasy football. Yeah. I had him with the Falcons and then with the Vikings. I will say that when he was paired up with Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders, the year Barry Sanders went for 2,000, and I think Emmitt set the touchdown record, Jerry Rice, and who was my number 2 wideout? I think I had
That'll
Isaac
get it done,
Bruce.
for sure.
Well, I think I was playing with morons when I look back at that team. I'm not sure how we
Was
put
it
together
2,
that team.
3 people in the league?
No,
Winner.
That team is loaded, man.
It was loaded.
I got him with the first and fifth, the first and
Jeff
sixth
George.
pick.
Jeff George was our backup quarterback actually when the year started because he wasn't even the starter in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then he took over, and down the stretch we had Jeff George starting down the stretch. We had some
dueling
of them
with Kurt Warner in the postseason, in the playoffs before they finally fell apart.
Yeah,
They led that game.
Danny, I do want to ask you, USC gets a slap on the wrist. By the way, Good Sense we were playing for there, goodsensesubs.com. Order it today. 30% more meat. Did you know that? They've added 30% more meat, and that meat is sliced fresh right in front of you, Danny. This is no prepackaged crap. They slice the meat right in front of your face.
As they should.
Yes. And the cheese, too. Bake the bread fresh twice each day. That's Good Sense. That's how they do it. USC, $5,000, 1% of the basketball budget, and maybe they can't make a phone call from a payphone or something. I had a guy today, my buddy Jake over at Brogdon. Hey, KU, that's great news for KU, right? Like, no, it means nothing for KU because the NCAA has no precedent whatsoever. You never know what the hell they're going to do.
Well, also, it's not even up to the NCAA anymore. So it's at that independent whatever the hell it is.
Right, but doesn't this help if that's the penalty that USC got?
I would think that it'd have to be encouraging, but as time goes on more and more, it just seems like the NCAA, the whole tenor of the case is we really can't nail everything down, but boy, we're mad at you. I mean, one of the reasons that in reading stuff about this that apparently both Bland and USC seems to have gotten maybe a better shake is because Bland squealed and helped with the case and helped with other cases, and KU is not doing any of that. They have basically stonewalled the whole time, and I think that's why they got what they wanted, which is to get it away from the NCAA and turned into this new body that will decide, and will it go better for them? I don't think there's any guarantees, but I think every time somebody doesn't get a 4-year postseason ban or something, you have to feel a little bit better.
Do you like how Bill Self is reshaping the team?
It's very hard to tell when you're taking mid-major transfers whether they, some of those guys turn out to be great, really great for you, and then other guys they're in over their head, and they're just contributing players. So Bill Self is going to coach them the best. He'll get the best out of what he has. What he has, I can't necessarily judge that well. A player who's a second team all MAC player, and I'm just pulling this imaginary player out of the air, who averaged 15 points a game. Does he take a step forward and he's a really good high major player, or is he just what he was? And then that means that you take 40%, you cut 40% of what he did before, and that's what you get.
I think
especially as players get older.
A guard that played big in the NCAA tournament for two games was the second leading scorer for a good Drake team, Yusufu,
right?
Yusufu. And I apologize. I'm not trying to make fun of the man's name. I just can't.
We just heard it both ways.
I think he's going to be really good, and I think Bill Self has signed two freshman guards. The kid who Cuff, who reclassified, and what's the other one? Middleton.
Pettiford.
Pettiford. Thank you. I think he feels like he's got three guards, and at least two of them are going to be better than Harris. And I'm going to tell you that I thought Harris is the biggest problem. Harris is not a point guard at Kansas. No offense to the young man. He's clearly much better at basketball than I am. That's low bar. But that is not what it looks like at point guard at Kansas. And Bill Self knew it. And he went out and got three guys that I'm going to assume, I'll bet you, at least two of them are already better than Harris right now, and probably all three are better. All three will certainly be better after they've been in the program for 2 years, and I guarantee you all three of them won't weigh 150 pounds after they've been in the program for 2 years.
And also, I think that what Harris did was fine, but it shouldn't be a major minutes fine, and he wasn't a scorer. And Kansas, at their best, has had scoring lead guards, and almost to a fault. I mean, when was the last time they had an old-timey true point guard? A pass-first point guard.
Aaron Miles.
Yeah, probably.
Because I don't think Bill Self plays that way. I think Bill Self has confidence in himself that, and not that Roy couldn't do this, but Roy played a different way. Roy likes somebody to beat you off the bounce and then kick, right? I think Self says, I'll run the sets. I'll get guys open, right? We'll hedge and pinch, and I'll get the ball in the post for dunks, and we'll rotate the ball, and I'll get the movement, and I don't have to have a guy that can just break your ankles, get into the lane, and when the help comes, dish it to the guy for the dunk. I'll get the guy the dunk just off moving the ball. And then I need that guy for the last 7 seconds of the shot clock. Well, he needs a guy. I mean, like you said, a true point guard. Like Aaron Miles isn't the guy I want shooting with the last.
No. I mean, Bill Self wants that. He'll get you a good set and do things like that. But then he still needs, Frank Mason.
Yes, everybody does. Everybody does. Yes.
You need that, or it really helps to have that guy at the end of the shot clock who's just going to get his own when it. If
you're going to win a championship, you have to have that guy. You can't. Like Bill Self is probably worth 10 points off inbounds plays and things he sees on film. It's 10-0 Bill Self against almost every coach he sees, right? But even the other team can be hot, and somewhere you need a guy who can just go get you a bucket. Like you don't run a set and then come out and then run another set. You run a set, and if it doesn't work, then we're just balling.
Yeah, plan B is ball screen with dude who can score.
Just like Andy Reid is brilliant, but sometimes like the quarterback has to evac and he can't deliver it to 1, 2, or 3. So now we're playing playground ball. Make a play. That's Patrick Mahomes, right? Every coach needs that guy, unless you're lights out everywhere else. It's hard to be that. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk some Chiefs with Danny Clinkscale. Danny Unleashed, brought to you by Easton Roofing.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. The storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors, offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
By the way, a little feedback from a friend of mine. Completely disagree. Requiring 2 defenders on each side of second base is the best and most easily implemented rule change. Every sport has rules on how you can play defense, all in an effort to help offensive action. To which I responded, who asked you?
Well, also, it'd be, yes, it's a football, I think it's a football-rated analogy, like you can't line up this way, that way, but if a defensive team in the NFL wanted to put all 11 of their defenders on one side because, the wide receiver was great or something, you could do it.
Rule.
Yeah, absolutely. Erroneous. I'm throwing that opinion out right now. Danny, what do you think of the offseason for the Chiefs right now? Do you agree that they are right now boxed in? Do they have to take an offensive tackle, and that's a little bit scary?
I don't know if they necessarily have to because there's probably still people out there, but I think they feel like they probably want to. And you can't accuse them of not trying because by all accounts they offered huge money to the best left tackle out there. Would they? But going with a rookie left tackle, no matter how much you like him, especially since you're probably going to get the 4th or 5th best, would we think? So yeah, I think it's a little dicey for them. I think in a perfect world they'd probably rather have a solid veteran and maybe draft a guy and see if they really love him when he comes into camp. So it's not ideal. I think they got done what they wanted to, which is improve the offensive line, but not exactly where they wanted to. And so it hasn't been perfect, and you've talked about it before. They made some decisions that put them in a salary cap situation, which wasn't perfect, and they did it in order to win a championship, which they did. So I don't think anybody can get angry about it, but they do. I think they'll probably draft an offensive tackle because, by all indications, what they've done is kind of, I don't know if you could say overreact, but they very much reacted to what went on in the Super Bowl. Where something that hadn't happened yet, which was that everything quarterback was emasculated by circumstances outside his control, had a real impact on their thinking.
Don't ever say that again, Danny. I don't want to ever hear those words come out of your mouth again. Do you understand me?
Except they were true.
They were true.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.